You ever really stop and think about where your food comes from? I don't just mean from the supermarket. I'm talking about a massive global journey that connects a farmer on one side of the world to a huge food trend on the other. Well, today we're going to follow the wild ride of one little nut, the cashew. So, take a look at this. It looks like some beautiful, fancy cheese you'd see at a gourmet shop, right? It's creamy, it looks rich. But here's the thing. It's not made from dairy. Not from a cow, not from a goat. Nope. Its story actually starts on a tree, as that crescent-shaped nut we all know. All right, so to really get this, we've got to start at the very beginning. We're heading to the source, the farms all across West Africa, which is, believe it or not, the unsung hero of the entire global cashew supply. Geographically, right here, this is the heart of the raw cashew world. You've got countries like Côte d'Ivoire, Nigeria, Ghana. They are absolute powerhouses. They supply a huge majority of the raw nuts that fuel everything, from the snacks you buy to that vegan cheese we just saw. Okay, but here's where things get really interesting. Let's talk about the money on the ground. This chart shows the farm gate price, that's what the farmers actually get paid, in Côte d'Ivoire, which is the biggest producer in the world. We're talking about a range between 150 and 400 West African francs per kilogram. Now get this, that works out to be about 25 to 66 US cents for a whole kilogram of raw cashews. Just let that sink in. And, it's not just that the prices are low, they're also all over the place. Farmers are up against some huge challenges. There's often what's called a blatant lack of liquidity, which basically means buyers just don't have the cash on hand to buy the nuts. And then, when the rainy season hits, if the storage isn't great, the quality of the whole harvest can go down, pushing those already low prices even lower. So from there, how does this raw nut start its big transformation? Let's bridge the gap from the farm to what some people are now calling fromage. Getting that little cashew kernel out of its shell is a pretty intense process. See, the shell has this caustic, nasty resin in it, so the traditional way to do it is pretty wild. They roast the nuts over an open fire, which makes that flammable resin literally catch on fire. Then they have to put the flames out in sand, and after all that, each and every nut has to be cracked open by hand to get the good stuff inside. And this right here really shows the cashew's total glow up. I mean, it's gone from being just a tasty ingredient like in chicken with cashews to literally being the star of the show. It is the entire dish. It's the main event, the foundation of this really high-value artisanal product. Now, this massive transformation isn't just happening on its own. It's being supercharged by a huge shift in what we eat. We're talking about a full-on plant-based gold rush that's turned this little nut into a seriously hot commodity. So, what's the deal here? What's really behind this huge explosion in demand? What changed to make something like cashew cheese a must-have for so many people? Well, it's basically a perfect storm of trends. First, you've got the massive growth of vegan, vegetarian, and especially flexitarian diets. That's people just trying to cut back on meat and dairy. Then you add in a lot more awareness about things like lactose intolerance. And on top of all that, there are growing concerns about the environmental and ethical side of the dairy industry. So people are looking for other options, and the cashew is right there, ready to go. And the numbers? Wow, the numbers are just staggering. Just last year, in 2023, the global market for cashew cheese was already worth a massive $1.2 billion US dollars. But look at where it's going. By 2032, that number is expected to more than triple. We're talking an incredible $3.8 billion. And how does it get there? With a compound annual growth rate of 13.5%. That is just absolutely explosive growth, year after year, for basically the next decade. Okay, so those are some huge abstract numbers, but what does that actually look like when we go to the grocery store? Well, it looks like a whole new category of food that's creating a totally new kind of cheese board. And the market itself is super diverse. Spreadable cashew cheese has the biggest slice of the pie right now. People love it as a dip or a spread on a bagel. But the block cheeses, the kind you can actually slice and grate like dairy cheese, are catching up fast. And then there's this whole universe of flavored options. From garlic and herb to spicy jalapeno, there's something for everyone. All this innovation is really being pushed by a bunch of really dynamic companies. You probably recognize some of these names, right? Miyoko's Creamery, Kite Hill, Treeline, they've become household names by really pushing the limits of what you can make with a nut. And it's not just us saying it. As this market report puts it, it's all about innovation and access. These companies are always creating new things and, crucially, getting them into more stores. From your little health food shop to the giant supermarket chains, they're making cashew cheese something everyone can try. Okay, so for our final act, let's bring the two ends of this crazy journey together. We started on a small farm in West Africa, and we've ended up in this booming global market. It really is a tale of two very different markets. And this is where the contrast is just so stark. On one side, you have the farmer's reality, a price that maxes out around 66 cents a kilogram, and all this financial stress. And then on the other side, you have the brand's reality, a $1.2 billion market that's about to triple in size, all built on top of that exact same ingredient. And to really see what a game changer this is, just look at this comparison. The cashew cheese market is growing at 13.5% a year. Now compare that to a classic dairy cheese like emmental, which is growing at a totally respectable but much slower 4.2%. The plant-based option is expanding more than 3 times as fast. So it's this incredible story of change and creating value. But it really leaves us with a huge question, doesn't it? When you go from a 66-cent raw material to a future $3.8 billion industry, you have to ask,